Oh, wrong side. Look at us already starting off. Look at us starting off. Usually it's, I think this is,
the other way around.
I thought so, but hello everybody and welcome to the Charge On pregame live show for UCF versus BYU. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. Alongside me, again as always, Nick Geddes. Listen, another one of those games. UCF has an opportunity. Let me tilt that down. UCF has an opportunity to get a top 15 win. BYU's coming in at number 11. This team, though, you never know. Somebody mentioned in the comments, Michael Mesa says, here we go again. How are we favorites? Maggie says, that's the way Vegas gets you to bet, begging you to take UCF. I think today's game is reminiscent to last year's Oklahoma State game and hopefully the same results. Let's talk about the betting. I don't think we've ever started a show talking about betting lines. On Bet Online, the spread is 3. On Hard Rock Bet, the spread is 3. And UCF, like everybody's saying, is favored. Do you have any idea? We talked about it on the pregame pod, but do you have any idea why UCF would be favored in this game?
No, I don't claim to know much about the ins and outs of betting and how they get to those lines, but similar to how the Colorado line makes sense a few weeks ago now when it was 14, this one doesn't make much sense either. I think it's gone up to, you said 3 now, that UCF's favored, and I don't know, it seems a little disrespectful to me, to the number 11 team in the nation that's undefeated, and I know BYU has played in some close ball games this year. I think 3 of them were actually close, especially last week. They are traveling, 2 time zones, playing on the East Coast, so maybe it's that part of it, coming off a emotional victory at home, and now maybe this is the letdown. And we've sort of been saying, do I think BYU is going to run the table and go undefeated? I do not. I think at some point they're going to slip up, just same way I feel like Iowa State's going to slip up at some point. Is UCF that team that's going to make them slip up? I mean, that's what the odds makers are telling me. And is this reminiscent to last year's game against Oklahoma State? I guess is the other question. I know that was the question here from Mackey 315. I got to see it. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't have as much trust right now in the UCF football program. But you know what? Last week they were in that ball game. They probably should have won that ball game if we're being completely honest with you. So who knows? Maybe they take care of business today and finally play the way that we're expecting them to.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think a lot of people like to point at the Oklahoma State game and say, oh, see, it can be done. Well, we kind of had that last week, right? Last week, UCF went in, had a hell of a game against Iowa State, and if you look from the perspective of last season, UCF had that game against Oklahoma. They were struggling. Nobody thought they had a shot against Oklahoma. They came out and put up a good performance, and the very next week they followed it up with just a beatdown against West Virginia. So I think in terms of, I get why people are looking at this game as a winnable game. Like you said, they're having to travel multiple time zones. It's hot. We're in the shade right now. It's windy, so it feels nice. If you're in the sun right now, it is really hot. So traveling, playing in the heat in a team that's really not used to it, all those things kind of add up. A team that doesn't defend the run well, which we'll get into that, but at the same time, you're facing a UCF team that has not put up more than 21 points on offense since TCU. I don't remember when the exact date that we played TCU was. I think it was September 14th, I think was the date. So it's been a month since UCF's offense has scored more than 21 points. And I'm going to keep saying it, the RJ Harvick touchdown did not count last week. Right. That was a defensive touchdown.
And I think we would agree, 21's not going to get it done today. 21, even if you're averaging 21 points per game on offense, you still have a really bad offense, okay? And against this opponent today, I don't think that's going to get it done. So they're really going to have to pull something special, I think, today to try to get a win. And, I mean, me personally, wins and losses at this point, obviously you want to win the games. The coaching staff, the players, they want to win the game. That's the most important thing. I guess for me, it's continued development of some of the younger guys and certainly at the quarterback position. I mean, these are all sort of chances for Jakari Brown to cement his spot next year as a starting quarterback of this football team. I don't think, for what we've seen through 2 games, he's done nearly enough to say that undisputed he's that number 1 guy. But playing this team today, it's another big opportunity for him to put a feather in his cap. I think that's what I'm looking most forward to out of some of these games.
No, I am too. And we talked about it on the pregame pod. If you guys want to go check that out before the game starts, you got about an hour and a half. But I think the way that UCF football is going about it is I think a lot of people are looking at Jakari Brown as the future, which I don't know how people see that after last week and even the week before. I think there's a lot of raw talent there that for a 21-year-old, I don't know if there's much more to mold. But with that being said, this coaching staff understands they're paying him a lot of money. They're going to give him a couple games to see if he's the guy next year. If he's not, and he comes out and throws another 100 yards and really struggles, and then he goes in the first half against Arizona and struggles, it's going to be E.J. Colson for the rest of the year. But I think for UCF, they do have to see if this guy is the guy and go from there.
Yeah, and the tough part about that is you're still trying to win ball games, like I said. And if UCF's going to win football games, they have to run the ball sort of like they did last week. I mean, that was really what kept them in the game last week offensively was those home run plays, and we had 3 of them from R.J. Harvey and Jakari Brown combined. That's what kept them in the game last week. I think it's probably going to be something similar today. So that's sort of the catch-22. It's like you want to see them open it up a little bit and try to get Jakari's confidence up. You want to see him complete some passes and see some development, but you also want to win the game. And the way to win the game is you have to get R.J. Harvey at least 20 touches, probably closer to 30, to be honest, because he's your best player on offense. It's really not close, and he's your meal ticket, and you got to ride that dude today.
Yeah, and we talked about BYU. The one thing that they have struggled with is against the run. So if you want to win the game, you have to run the ball effectively. You're going to have to throw the ball too, and that's the thing. Like, you have to be able to have a serviceable passing game. If you're BYU, you just look at the tape. You look at the tape against Iowa State and said, what did UCF do really well that we are going to have to be able to stop? And it's the big plays. UCF can get really big chunk plays in a very fast time, but they also run the ball. They use the quarterback run game very well. But again, it's going to have to be a big day for Kobe Hudson. It's going to have to be a big day for Randy Pittman to make some of these throws and make some of these passes, because if you're one-dimensional, again, this is going to be an easy win for BYU. Guys, drop in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you think this is going to be that game like Oklahoma State last year where UCF just comes out and demolishes BYU? We know that game is coming. It could be tonight or today. Or do you think it's going to be another blowout?
That one there?
What, the Dalton one?
Yeah.
Dalton, any thoughts on Gus getting booed at Spirit Splash? Oh, I didn't even see that. No, I did see the clip. I didn't see the comment until just now.
I'll start.
Yeah, you can start.
I don't want to be any. Listen, it's not my job to tell anybody what they want to do at a public function like that. You're a student. You pay tuition. You pay your athletic fee to come out here and try to see a really good football team. We haven't gotten that. And in that moment, you're all sort of right there. Gus is introduced, and I know the easy thing is to, let him know how you feel, right? Me personally, it probably wouldn't have been my setting for it. That's just me. Like, I don't know, it's homecoming, it's Spirit Splash, it's supposed to be positive, it's supposed to be upbeat. I know, the players came out too. I don't know if anybody was booing the players too, if it was just Gus. It wasn't my preferred setting for that, but at the same time, I get it. It's a public setting. You want to let the coach know how you feel, and you did that. So, not my preferred setting, but I get it, I guess.
I'll give my thoughts. None of the players were booed. R.J. Harvey got a bunch of applause. R.J. Harvey is the most.
You're booing R.J. Harvey. Whatever affiliation you have to this program should be stripped. First of all.
I agree. Here's my thing. I kind of agree in the sense of you have a lot of balls to basically just boo the head coach at a homecoming celebration, the head coach of your football team. But at the end of the day, listen, it's 2 straight years where your season has kind of turned out as a big bummer for students. And listen, it kind of goes into the next question with Joe P saying, how's the crowd turnout shaping up? Listen.
Well, right now I am surrounded by lots of BYU blue, for what that's worth. And we said there was going to be a good BYU contingency in the house tonight. And I look around and they're right now they're circling us.
Yeah. No, I'm going to be honest, Joe. It's going to be 50-50. I'm going to be honest. BYU, I think UCF fans will show up, but I think the way the season turns out, there was a lot of tickets for sale. If you went on any ticket site, the tickets dropped significantly. You could have gotten to the building today for $18. There is a lot of BYU fans that we knew were going to come. They show up. Like, BYU fans show up to whatever event the team has. And I knew multiple BYU fans that were going to come to this game. But seeing it, like, there's an elementary school, I think it's Carillon. I think it's Carillon Elementary, just 2 minutes down the road. and there was a BYU, set up for all their fans, like Fan Fest over there, and there's a Fan Fest over here. So they've got multiple Fan Fests as the band comes through. They have multiple Fan Fests around the city today. So crowd turnout for UCF, I don't know. I don't see a lot of students. The tickets did get dispersed. They didn't have any more student tickets. But I think, Nick, it's going to be a lot of BYU here.
Yeah, we sort of said that. I don't know if it's going to be 50-50 split necessarily, but let's just let the band go through first. Let's get the band go through.
We'll talk when they're not playing.
I know everybody said the mic is great and you can hear us over the band, but in terms of my thoughts right now, it's hard to collect them.
I'll say this. If I could just pan you guys over to the right of us, or I guess the left in terms of this camera, if I would pan you guys to the left, you would just see how many BYU fans are here.
You don't see many UCF shirts in here right now. There's no doubt about that.
No, and again, I'm not going to blame fans for not showing up. Granted, if you're a UCF fan, you should be at the game. You shouldn't sell your tickets. You should be here. But they really haven't given you much to...
Well, what else are you doing on a Saturday in the fall?
But would you...
Are you pumpkin picking? Is that what we're doing?
Is it called, is it called pumpkin picking?
I don't know. I just see all those memes.
Going to a pumpkin patch?
I just see all those memes where it's like, pray for all the guys who are pumpkin patching it up on a Saturday in the fall. Couldn't be me, by the way. Could not be me.
I mean, there is a cool place down in, Claremont that's an actual, ranch or something. And it's huge.
My Saturdays are not the time for that, so.
I would agree. UCF, as I thought there would be more BYU fans there. This is not good. Yeah, no, I will say, I think UCF, I want to make this a point of emphasis. I don't want UCF fans getting discouraged about it. It's not like you're going to see this every game. BYU is just a different animal in terms of their fan support. They are just a different breed. You're not going to see this for Arizona. You're not going to see it for Utah.
They got a national fan base. So.
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about the game here, okay? Obviously, we talked about Jakari Brown. We talked about the offense having to run the football. Do we have any faith that Gus Malzahn is going to actually come out and just have one of those games? Is this the game? Do you view this as the game? Or do you think it's maybe next week against Arizona, even though Arizona's not that good? Do you think this is the game that Gus Malzahn is going to pull out of the hat?
I do. I mean, I was about to say you're the underdog, but you're not. In theory, you're the underdog. I think if this was the time to open the playbook up extra and try to get creative, remember you used to always be able to pencil in Gus Malzahn. I feel like for every game there'd be a few trick plays in the offense, and to varying degrees of success, right? Yeah. We haven't really seen that lately. It's just sort of been straight up hey, we're going to run the RPO game and we're going to try to make it work there. And they have not had much success. So I wonder if today, after a 4-game losing streak, Gus Malzahn says, when things don't work, they constantly evaluate and they try to figure out what they can do better. We've been hearing that for a few weeks now, and we're sort of waiting for things to get to the level that we expected to see. So maybe today's that game. I would be in favor of it. Even for Jakari, if you want to go on the offensive and if you want to be aggressive to come out, I know that they haven't been able to connect on any of these deep shots, but I wouldn't be opposed to first drive. Let's air it out. Let's see what we got. Let's try to be aggressive and let's try to attack downfield and just see what happens. I don't know, just to change the game script a little bit. I wouldn't be opposed to that. We'll see if they hit it, but I'm not opposed to taking a deep shot today, right off the bat.
I honestly think that that's a good call, and this is if we're thinking about that, right? Because listen, they struggled passing the football, right? So they're going to come out. I agree with you. I think they're going to try to hit a big play. But BYU's also probably thinking that, okay, they're going to want to try come out and throw the football just to get it, set so we then have to play the run and then opens up the passing game. So if we're thinking that, and Gus Malzahn's thinking that, probably BYU's thinking that. So I agree. I think that is what they're going to do to start the game because they have to. But if Jakari just throws another 2 or 3 30-yard deep pass that just go 10 yards over or just don't look anywhere close, in this game, if this game is competitive at halftime and Jakari looks just as inept throwing the football as he did last week, I know this might be just trying to make the change too quick, but you might need to put EJ in there. Like, you have to get a quarterback that can throw the football. And Jakari has shown that he can throw those intermediate 10 to 20-yard balls. Like, he's very effective in that range. But anything short and long, it looks like he just doesn't have the same touch.
He doesn't have touch right now. That's the thing that's holding him back. I think when Gus Malzahn said this week in his press conference on, what was it, Monday?
Yeah.
And he said that, I mean, he's as talented as any quarterback in the country. I mean, maybe that's a stretch, but in terms of just raw talent, I guess, and like having a cannon for an arm, I think we can all see Jakari Brown's got that. Like, there's some tools there to work with. It's just at 21 years old, how much growth is really going to come? That's sort of the question that we're looking at here, and I'm curious to see what that looks like today.
We'll talk a little bit about BYU. Obviously, what a year. I mean, what a year. We kind of were looking at the schedule, and I said if they beat UCF, which they should, like they should beat UCF. If you just look at the schedule, their schedule is favorable to go undefeated. With the way that they play and the way that they just punch teams in the mouth every single week, you can safely look at it and say they should go undefeated. They should win every game. I think the big question marks with them is, can their offense hold up? Like, they have some struggles on offense when it comes to the passing game. Jake Retzlaff is not the most efficient passer of the football. He has, I think, like 7 interceptions we saw. So that's a struggle. But their running game, Nick, they are kind of the team that UCF is running the football. But I think at times they do it way better in terms of just their physicality.
Yeah, that was the thing that changed the game for them last week against Oklahoma State. Was in the second half they got back to their identity, and that's running the football, and that definitely helped them along. And obviously Retzlaff made a lot of plays with his feet. I think we said that in the pregame show. That's the one thing that concerns me a little bit, because we just saw what Rocco Beck did to this defense last week with his legs, and I think Retzlaff presents a greater challenge than Rocco Beck did. So there's definitely a lot that you're going to have to defend today. Turnovers, I mean, sometimes turnovers are a product of luck, especially when it comes to like fumbles and things like that. But if you can try to confuse Retzlaff a few times and try to get some turnovers that way, I think that's going to help you a lot. Again, that was another big reason why UCF was in that game last week, was the turnovers, and we haven't seen that enough this year. I think you're going to have to get them today to have a chance.
Going to have to get turnovers. You mentioned it. Going to have to stop the quarterback run game. And I don't know how you do it. I mean, I know they're going to come out with the 3 linebacker set. That's been working. I mean, the 3 linebacker sets that Ted Roof has been putting out there has been very effective.
Yeah.
But you need to have a spy on it.
Have we seen, by the way, I have not had a chance to get up yet to the press box because, 3-hour traffic on the way here was the bane of my existence. But Nigel Leak, was he out there? Does he look like he's going to go today or not?
I think Gus said he practiced, so I think he should be good. There's a couple names.
But for what it's worth, Isaiah Nixon just played his best game.
But he got hurt too.
He got hurt too.
And nobody asked about it.
Right, so we don't know who's going to be rushing the passer today, but I'm hoping Isaiah plays today because there's so much to build off of. This has been coming for weeks. It's been brewing. He played really well against Cincinnati when he got his opportunities, and he was the best player on defense, I thought, last week against Iowa State. So I hope he's out there tonight because it's another one of those young guys that we're, again, looking for development from, and he's certainly on that list.
If Isaiah can't go, Dalen Dotson, I think, has...
He played well back. He got to play his natural position out there on the edge last week. He also had a really good game. The experiment to move him basically out of necessity because of no John Walker, and obviously we learned this week he's out for the season. TBD on his UCF career, I guess.
They'll be paying him a lot of money to stay.
Right. Gus did call him the best player on the team, I believe. Or you kind of mentioned, somebody mentioned it. Was it Gus that said it?
He probably said one of the best players on the team or something like that.
Yeah, he might have said one of He is, though. He's important. It's been a big loss, but getting Dalen back in his natural position, being able to rotate Malachi too, I don't think Malachi has really just grabbed the reins this year as the edge rusher one and taken it. So I think you're going to see some more rotation there, and I think that's needed.
Yeah, listen, especially with those edge guys, it kind of just seems like they lose gas a little bit too quick. They have gotten better throughout the last couple weeks, but you mentioned it. I think if you get a Dalen, if you get an Isaiah Nixon to come in and just kind of get that extra push, that'll be helpful. Nigel Leak has kind of turned it on as of late. The last couple weeks, he's really shown something. You kind of want to see more out of Malachi Lawrence. That's been really the big negative of the season is Malachi just not showing up in a lot of these moments. But listen, for all intents and purposes, the defense has not been the problem. But to have a shot today, you need to put a linebacker right in the middle of the field and watch Jake Retzlaff the entire game. Because if you don't, it's going to happen the exact same thing against Iowa State. You're going to have a really good first half on defense. Then Jake is going to run out of the pocket, get a bunch of yards multiple times, and you got to get off the field on third down. Let's talk about that. Third and fourth down. They've been getting better, right? So we want to – here's our positive stuff, our positive couple words. It's been getting better, but it was horrendous in the second half. At the end of the day, they were on the field for 40 minutes.
Too long.
So it's like, what's the number today? If there's 15 third down opportunities for UCF to win, what is it? What's the number got to be?
To stop them?
Yeah.
If they have 15 third down opportunities?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see if BYU goes like 5 for 15. I think you take your chances with that. I think that's, sort of, I'm not sure what the national averages of picking up third downs is, but if I can keep them to 5, if it was 15, I think that'd be like my magic number. I think when you start to get to like 8, 9, 10, obviously you're putting yourself in a bad spot and you're just asking for trouble. But to your point, they have been getting a little bit better of getting some of those stops on third downs and trying to keep their team in the game, but the offense hasn't been able to respond. It hasn't been complimentary enough. And listen, when you're on the field for 96 plays, I don't care who you are. Outside of being Travis Hunter, who just has the craziest stamina we've ever seen in college football, I don't care who you are. You're going to get worn down, especially this defense because of some of the deficiencies they have. So any way they can try to control the time of possession is going to help today.
Let's read a couple of your comments. We're going to stay on for maybe about another 9 minutes, go till about 2:30 here. UCF Mayor says, "Go Knights. Knights win today. It has been a great day. On a ship for a cruise and half buzzed already."
I love it.
I wish I was on a cruise right now.
If you're not here, that's where you should be. In fact, you'd probably rather be there. I don't know.
Well, also,
what time is it right now? 2:20? Well done.
How do you get, because I knew when I was on a cruise, I was on a cruise during the Magic playoff run.
I've never even been on a cruise.
You've never been on a cruise?
No, never been on a cruise.
Okay, so I'm going to talk.
Not an ocean guy.
See, you're not a traveling guy. You don't like to travel in anything that's not the ground. So
unless it's my car, I don't like it. I don't like planes. I don't like boats. I don't like any of it.
I think we've talked about this before, and I said we need to I'm going to talk to your wife, and we're going to plan a cruise vacation. That a 3-day Bahamas that started off slow. Water's not crazy. It's very calm. But yeah, you could be like UCF Mayor and be on a cruise and be really enjoying it.
It does sound great. If you get me on there, I mean, I'm stuck. So what are you going to do?
I'm going to talk. I'm literally going to talk to your wife the next week, and we're going to figure it out. I don't know though if UCF Mayor, type how you're getting the game. Are you just doing it on your phone? Did you buy Wi-Fi? Because that's what I had to do for the Magic playoffs. I had to buy Wi-Fi to watch the game because there was nowhere on the ship that had basically any TV, which needs to be changed on cruise ships. I'm going to say that. You need to have sports games on TVs. All right, Joe P. Apathy is setting in, which is not a good thing. Need a W the worst way. Listen, I think the outlook of the season looks a lot different if you go 4-4. If you start the season 4-4, it changes things. If you're 3-5, it's just a little bit different, right? The mindset's different. If you go 4-4 with games still to go against West Virginia, Utah, Arizona State, there is a feeling of UCF has a potential there. I'm not going to say to go 8-4. I get it. But it has the potential to go to another bowl game, get to 6 wins, which I know isn't the most joyous thing. But this is a big-time game here to kind of make that viewpoint a potential reality.
Yeah, it does sort of change the outlook of the season. If you can, with all the struggles this year, if you get to 4-4, I mean, it's not where you want to be. Let's not confuse that. But considering where it could go, it would be an improvement, I guess. And this would be another big victory under Gus Malzahn. And listen, he needs one. He needs one. I mean, we know he's not going anywhere. I think we all know that. But like we've been saying for weeks, there's a lot of unrest in the fan base right now about Gus and sort of the direction things are going in. And we've obviously aired some of our criticisms too. But if there was anything that he needed, it's a big win today over the number 11 team in the nation. That would sort of quiet things down for a little bit, and then you go from there.
Lose by 3 to, at the time, the number 9 team in the nation. Win against the number 11 team, which certainly, maybe not with all the UCF fans, but
we need something to show us that, hey, we're still moving in a positive direction. We're not going backwards. Yeah. Right now, it looks like everything is just going backwards.
Yeah.
We need something, anything, positivity, tells me. And by the way, the guy on this team that's going to provide you positivity week in and week out is RJ Harvey. That doesn't count because RJ Harvey is not going to be wearing a UCF uniform next year.
Yeah.
That's kind of the part of it, is like the guy that does provide you the most sort of joy on the football team is not going to be here next year. So let's see if anybody else that's going to be around next year can provide us that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's been the big question is anybody going to step up? Jacob, saw you guys from the band. Love your show. Thank you. I mean, I hope you waved into the camera. I see our bit rate is a little low right now, so the video's a little choppy. That'll get situated for the post-game show. I know how to fix it, so that'll get situated for the before the post-game show. But thank you. Thank you for the support, Jacob. Hopefully you can come on over and say hi at some point. UCFS, how's the student section? Just heard some people talking about how they want Scott Frost back. I don't know how the student section is. We're about to find out in about 4 minutes when I go over there. I'm not going to get into the whole Scott Frost thing. I do like the idea, but
entertaining a thought of it.
Here's my thing, and this is why we need to be careful with the coaching talk. Gus is going to be here next year. So if you start talking about coaching now, you've got another year of talking about it. So let's just hold off on the coaching talk. I do like the Scott Frost idea. I'm not going to lie to you, but we need to just play this out and see what happens. Yeah, Mackie, don't start with Gus firing. Not going to happen. Dalton, do we think we're getting close to Andrew Harris getting some playing time at linebacker? That hit on the kickoff last week got me fired up. I think the biggest need for UCF is to make sure he doesn't transfer in the offseason.
Right.
I mean, I think he's a starting caliber linebacker. I think he is your starting linebacker with X3 next year. I do think I don't think he's going to get playing time like that right now. I think he's just going to be on special teams. But I do think if you can somehow find a way to keep him, he's your starting linebacker next year along with X3.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I think we might see him get some cameos in there, sort of how like last week, Christian Peterson returning kickoffs, and I think there's something there. I think Gus said that too. Like, you could see that he could be pretty electric in open space. So I think you'll see little tweaks like that you might see more of the quote-unquote youngins getting out there. But at the end of the day, you're trying to win football games. So I know that's the main objective for everybody involved in this program right now.
UCF Mayor, this is the final thing we'll say. The sports bar on Horizon has multiple games. I already talked to the bartender. We got the game. I watched the ESPN Plus game on my computer on a ship. That's honestly fire. That is Horizon Royal Caribbean? Do you know? You don't know cruise ships. You don't know cruise ships. I don't know what Horizon is, but it might be Royal Caribbean. And yeah, I forgot which one I went. I was on an Alaskan cruise, and they had no sports. UCFS, I don't get why people are wanting him fired. Just give him a shot. That's what I told these people. He'll get it turned around. He's had a rough season with the transfer portal. He's got one more year. I mean, that's the reality. He needs to finish the season strong, and then he's got next year. And listen, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. He knows that too. Like, he knows it hasn't been pretty. He knows that he needs to get it turned around, and he's got next year. So if it doesn't happen next year, then yeah, he's gone. He's not going to stay. But I think talking about other coaching candidates right now at this point, if me and Nick start talking about coaching candidates right now, that's going to be basically every episode of Charge On for the next year, and none of us want that. None of us want to talk about that. So, Nick, any final thoughts before we close this one out?
I always say it. Let's go have a day. Let's enjoy your college football Saturdays out there. I know the action's already kicked off around. I haven't even literally looked at the scores. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to find out here soon. But, yeah, it seems like the crowd is filing in right now. I'm starting to see a little bit more of UCF fan presence in the building at the moment. Actually, I just turned the other way, and there's even more blue than I thought that's around me. So have fun out there. Let's everybody be nice, and let's have a day.
Let's have a day. This has been the Charge On Pregame Live, a UCF versus BYU pregame live show. We're going to make sure we get all of the camera stuff situated for the postgame show. So make sure you come back for the postgame show. That'll be around 8 p.m. as soon